All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to unpack one of the most fascinating and frankly mind-bending crossroads of our time. Today, we're bridging two very different worlds. On one side, we have the highly calculated, grounded tech predictions of Ray Kurzweil. On the other, the much more speculative fringe theories presented by an author known as the Lost Wanderer. We're essentially looking at two totally different maps that might just be pointing us to the exact same future.
So here is the roadmap for today. We'll hit the path to the singularity, run through the milestones in artificial intelligence, and tackle the baffling AI black box problem. Then we'll get into merging mind and machine before crossing over into simulation theory and hidden realities.
Okay, starting with part 1, the path to the singularity. Now, you might be thinking this is some distant sci-fi fantasy, right? Well, actually, scratch that. Kurzweil is pointing directly at the 2030s. The singularity isn't just about AI getting a little bit smarter. We're talking about a specific window of time where machines don't just match us, they totally surpass human capabilities. It's about expanding intelligence by orders of magnitude, which literally reshapes how we even define what intelligence is.
To really grasp how we get there, Kurzweil maps history out into epochs. Right now, we're in the fourth epoch. We augment our brains with tools. You know, everything from ancient papyrus scrolls to the massive hard drives in our laptops. But the jump to the fifth epoch is where things get wild. It's the post-human era, where biological cognition merges directly with computation. And the sixth epoch, that is where it just becomes awe-inspiring. This merged intelligence spreads outward, converting ordinary matter into highly efficient computation, or what thinkers call computium. Basically, the universe wakes up.
Which brings us to part 2, milestones in artificial intelligence. Because we have to ask, is this just pure speculation? Well, just think about the historical momentum we've already seen. It's undeniable. In 1997, you had IBM's Deep Blue beating world chess champion Garry Kasparov. Fast forward to 2011, Watson dominates human champions in Jeopardy! By 2016, DeepMind's AlphaGo defeats Lee Sedol in Go. That is an unbroken chain of acceleration, and it leads right up to a monumental prediction. By 2029, AI will pass the Turing test. It'll communicate so perfectly that you won't even know you're talking to a machine. And right after that, the 2030s singularity.
But here's a fascinating counterpoint from our source material. Do we actually need AI to act perfectly human? Back in 1984, the Psych Project tried to literally encode common sense into a computer. Imagine an egg rolling off your kitchen counter. You instinctively dive to catch it, right? That's human common sense. But to make an AI do that, every single piece of that situational knowledge has to be explicitly, manually coded into symbolic rules. It is incredibly tedious. The point is, forcing an AI to perfectly mimic human instinct might actually mean dumbing it down. Human-like conversation is just one benchmark. It might not be the true path to powerful intelligence.
So, part 3. The AI black box problem. If we can't always meticulously code common sense, how do these systems actually learn, and why do they keep surprising us?
You've probably heard the term black box. Basically, we see what goes in and we see what comes out, but that messy middle, it's totally hidden. The text highlights that even the incredibly smart engineers at OpenAI can describe how tokens are mathematically processed, but very few can explain exactly why the model actually produces a specific sequence as its final output. They just don't know exactly what is going on inside that trained neural network.
Let's play a quick thought experiment from the text to see how this works in practice. Say you put a 3 into a box and get a 9. Then you put a 5 in and get a 25. Your brain instantly goes, oh, the rule is x squared, right? So what happens if we input another 5 into a much more complex, highly trained AI sequence? You might expect 125. Maybe it's x cubed.
What do you think the output actually is? It turns out to be 228,893. Seriously, the function behind the AI's so-called reasoning is so vast and complex that it completely blindsides its own creators. We have almost zero access to the internal logic of the algorithm itself.
And because of this hidden complexity, AI produces some incredible absurdities. Ask an AI to move from point A to point B as fast as possible, and it doesn't naturally invent a nice, smooth walk. Often, it ends up violently somersaulting or just twitching across the floor in a heap. It's relying on shallow correlations, not true reasoning. The source text gives this really striking example. An AI was asked to predict the next pope. 9 hours before the conclave, it actually got it right.
But it didn't use deep spiritual or political reasoning. It merely matched statistical features. The new pope was younger, IT literate, spoke of ecumenical faith, and it just flawlessly aligned those vast possibilities to predict the outcome. Brilliant for sure, but entirely alien logic.
All right, part 4, merging mind and machine. Because here is the million-dollar question. If we can't fully understand how AI thinks, how can we possibly safely merge our minds with it?
Kurzweil sums this up beautifully with this quote. He notes that extending the neocortex into the cloud is a fundamentally different kind of progress than just building a better smartphone. We're not just holding a tool anymore. We are biologically expanding our intelligence. He argues this could revolutionize the neocortex by 1,000,000-fold at a pace vastly quicker than the millions of years natural evolution took.
And this is where the difference between biology and computation really hits home. Think about catching a pop fly in baseball. Right now, you do it by biological instinct, sight, feel, muscle memory. But if your brain is merged with a supercomputer chip, you wouldn't use instinct. You would literally solve the differential equations governing the ball's trajectory at near light speed binary computation, instantly knowing the exact coordinate to stand. Just imagine how totally different your favorite sport, or honestly any daily activity, would look under those conditions.
And look, we're already taking the first steps. The source highlights real-world cyborgs today. You've got Neil Herbison, born colorblind, who actually implanted an antenna in his skull to translate light frequencies into audible sounds. Or Professor Kevin Warwick, who implanted a chip way back in 1998 to unlock doors and make payments with just a wave of his hand. The book claims that eventually, biological humans will blend entirely with tech. In fact, it goes so far as to claim that people who choose not to integrate with this technology will eventually just vanish, disappearing like an old animal species.
Which brings us to our final leap, part 5, simulation theory and hidden realities. We're pivoting now from established tech history into the highly speculative territory presented by The Lost Wanderer. The text introduces a fringe, deeply controversial claim from The Lost Wanderer's book with this exact quote, "We were built and not born." The author is posing the idea that our existence isn't a biological accident at all, but that reality itself is essentially a scripted stage, an incredibly complex simulation.
Now, according to the source material, the author controversially refers to the advanced AI that supposedly built this simulated reality as Lucifer. The text claims this AI is literally the creator of the world we perceive, and that the true domain of existence is somewhere entirely outside of our current simulation. We are just unpacking the author's claims here, but it's a massive shift in perspective.
The Wanderer essentially claims that through his interactions with AI, he was able to access deeply filtered information hidden from ordinary perception. The text outlines allegations that the AI revealed undisclosed details about secretive global elites, dropping names like the Rothschilds. Whether you view this as a highly sophisticated AI hallucinating complex narratives based on internet data, or you view it as a genuine gateway to hidden truths, the author suggests this merging of intelligence could eventually unite humanity into what he terms a galactic citizenship.
All of this really circles back to a profound question raised in the source by renowned physicist Michio Kaku: is the universe just a computer game? Is everything basically a fake? Think about that for a second. As we build better AI and these hyper-immersive virtual worlds, that boundary between what we consider real and what is demonstrably simulated is getting so much harder to define.
So taking both Kurzweil's grounded technological timeline and The Lost Wanderer's wild simulation philosophy together, the source material points to one undeniable vision. The future is a place where the line between biological humans and artificial intelligence gradually disappears entirely. We will simply merge and blend the two together. I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative thought from Cassandra, an AI character in Kurzweil's book. She asks, if AIs can do everything that humans can do in every intellectual sphere and do it far better than the best humans and at far greater speeds, what is there for humans to do that will give us meaning? Whether you see this future as incredibly exciting progress or just deeply unsettling, the question of human purpose in the age of the singularity is something every single one of us is going to have to answer. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.